What we're going to do is we're going to go over how to set up your drawings to do your rooms. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tape up my paper. You can do it on any table if you like. I don't have any drafting tape with me, but I do have some blue tape. So I'm just going to do is blue tape the corners so it doesn't move on me. All right. Blue tape will come off. It just makes it easier. When you tape things up, it just makes it easier to draw, especially if you're going to be using a straight edge. Now some of you don't have a drafting table or a drawing table like this. You can use dining room table. You want something with formica. I mean a kitchen table. Don't use a dining room table. Something that has a hard surface, because when you start drawing you don't want to impregnate the paper as well as the surface you're drawing on. So what I want to do is I'm going to take an example from my bedroom in one of my homes. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line first. Okay, this is a drawing table, and this is called a beam, and I'm just going to draw a line. And I know my scale is going to be a certain distance, so I'm just going to draw a line first. Alright, light line all the way across. And I'm going to draw this line, I'm going to go this direction when I start drawing. So I got to think of my scale. Now I'm going to do the scale I'm going to use is going to be 3/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. Alright, so if I know that, and I have 3/4 of an inch is 1 foot, so that's 12 inches. I have to go 16 inches. So if I take a foot and I figure out what that scale would be, I would have to go a certain distance to be 16 inches. So I have 12. I need 4 more inches to be equivalent to 16 inches. So once I have my scale, okay, most of you guys took your scales home. Alright, so I have 3/4 of an inch scale, which would be the red side, and be 3/4 over here. I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to make a mark at the bottom here. I'm going to mark out, alright, 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to mark off 16 inches. Okay, so that would be 12 plus 4 is 16 inches. Now, some of you guys don't. Just give you a little heads up. Just measuring that now with a regular scale, which would be a ruler. I could use a ruler here. And I measure that line, and it's 1 inch. So now I know 16 inches is equivalent to 1 inch on a regular scale. Okay? Now, if I took my scale again and I measured it, this is something you can put down in your notes. So if I took my scale again with 3/4 inch, and I'm going to measure 1.5 inches, that would be the width of my 2x4. So I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. Okay? And now look at that, and I measure with my regular scale, which would be 1/8 of an inch. Okay? So 1.5 inches is equal to 1/8 of an inch on a regular ruler. Alright, so you can use a regular ruler to draw this. So my room, the bedroom, is 14 feet in length. So I'm going to use an example. So I look at my scale and I see how far 14 feet is. 14 feet comes almost to the very edge. So what I'm going to do, I think I said 15 feet. I'm going to make it 14 feet because it's right here. Okay, so that's 14 feet. Alright, so I have my straight edge. I can use regular straight edge if I want. Doesn't really make a difference as long as it's a straight edge. And I draw everything from that line. So I'm going to start with my line, nice and easy. So that's the length of my room. Okay? Now, I know I'm going to have a window in there somewhere. Alright, let's say that the window is halfway through the room. So what's half of 14, which is 7. Alright? So 7 would be how many inches? 84 inches. Alright? So 16, okay, so half of that would be what? So we can just know that this is, if we make this distance here, which is 10.5, but we know half of 10.5 is 5.25. So we go 5.25 would be the center of my window. Okay? Now the window itself could be different sizes. Let's say a standard window. A standard window is going to be let's say 35 by 54. All right, so make it 36. Let's make it easier for ourselves. So 36. So if I have my scale, let's set it to 1.5 feet, be 3 feet. So I'm going to set it at 1.5. So it'd be 1.5. I'll put 1.5. And then I'm going to go to 1.5 again. So set that on 0, and that'll be 3. So that's my window, direction of my window. So I'm just going to lightly draw that line up from my window. I'm not worried about the studs right now. I'm just going to draw a light line up here for my window, just so I know where my window is going to be. Okay, so my window is going to be there. I'm going to have another stud that's going to start here at the end. This is the outside wall. We'll say this is the outside wall. I have another wall coming this direction. So this is the outside wall, looking out into the yard or wherever I'm looking. And this wall here is going to be adjacent to a closet or another room. Okay? So once we have that. Now I know I said 1.5 inches is equal to 1/8 of an inch. So if I use my regular ruler, if you guys don't have a scale at home, I'm just going to measure up 1/8 of an inch, put a dot, and I'm going to draw that. Now this is my sole plate or bottom plate, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to draw my sole plate, bottom plate. Nice line all the way across. Okay, the total length of the height of my wall is going to be 8 feet, which is 96 inches. All right, 96 inches will be equivalent to 8 inches. Okay, so I can take my scale. Okay, I'm going to measure up 8 inches, 1/16. So let's go. It would be 3/4 inch scale. I'm going to make it 8 feet. So that would be right there. I'm going to put a dot at 8 feet. I have a dot at 8 feet. Now I want to come down 1.5 inches, which would be 1/8 of an inch. And that's my top plate. Okay? Then I'll have another top plate on top of that. So I have 2 top plates up there. So it'd be almost 1/4 of an inch when you're all said and done. Okay? So there are my 2 top plates. Now, I'm going to draw those lines first, so I know what they are. I have my top plate, which is here. Lightly draw it across. I have come down 1/8 of an inch. There's my top plate. Get another 1/8 of an inch. There's my other top plate. Okay, now I have 2 top plates. Bottom plate, 2 top plates. Right? Then I'm going to start putting my studs in the middle here. First stud I know is going to be 1.5 inches. So that's my stud. So I'm going to go 3/4 scale, and I'm going to put a dot at 1.5 inches. Okay. Now, in between the first 2 studs is going to be 14.5 inches. So, easy way to do this is if I go down the bottom here and I set this at 1 inch, or I go every 16 inches. So I can set my scale up. If you have a compass, you can do it easier. You can just mark it off with a compass. Or if you don't have a compass, since we know that every inch is equal to 16 inches, I can go to my regular scale here, and I'm going to put a dot at every inch. Don't even worry about the window now. We know the window's there, but we want to keep our studs at 16-inch centers for we do our drywall. So don't worry about the spacing at the end here. It doesn't really matter. Okay? So now I notice I marked the outside edge of that stud. This is the outside edge of that stud. Here's the inside edge. There's the outside of the wall. Here's the inside of the wall, so my stud goes above it. come over to this one, and I'm going to do this, go here, and I'm going to draw a line straight up from here. And you know I'm going to go back because my 16-inch centers is from here to here. So I'm going to go back another 16 inches. Easy way to do that, so I can put my studs, set it on the edge here now. And I'm just going to mark every 1 inch again. And so I'm not doing it too hard, just lacing lace. Alright, and just put a dot. It shouldn't take you that long to draw this once you get it all said and done. Now I do have a stud here at the end, so I have to come back another 1.5 inches. So I'm another 1/8 of an inch, because I have to have a stud here to end the wall. So now I'm going to put a stud there. I'm going to start marking these up. Draw a nice line. Okay, line every one now is going to be for my studs. And I can do this, and also I'm going to, when I come to my window, if I remember, I have certain heights for my window. I'm going to have a cripple. Okay, the cripple goes on either on top of the header and below the sill. So that's what we're going to worry about. So we have a stud here. Now I notice my window comes right to here, so I'm going to make that a stud there for now, all the way. And I'm going to come back another 1/8 of an inch for that stud. And I'm going to now go back to continue doing with my 16-inch on centers. I'm going to lightly draw this because they're my cripples and my area for my window. Don't worry about the window yet, okay? These are just the cripples so we can line up our drywall. It's important when we finish the room, we can do that. Here's the outside of the window, so now I know I have to have a stud here. So I'm going to bring a stud down. I have to go over another 1.5 inches, which is 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to draw my stud. Go back over, continue my studs at 16-inch on centers. The reason we do 16-inch on centers is because drywall itself is 4 feet by 8 feet, which is 48 inches by 96 inches. And when you have drywall, you want to have multiples of 16. We know 48 goes in this, 16 goes into 48 4 times, and we know that 16 goes into 96 8 times.